Hello, my friends, and welcome back to English Lab. My name is Jenny, and today I want you to sit with me, relax, and listen carefully because we are going to practice something very important. This video is called B2 Level English Listening Practice. Think like an English native speaker. Learn English quickly. And when I say think like a native speaker, I don't mean you need to copy someone's accent or pretend to be somebody else. I mean you can learn how to understand the rhythm, the style, the way of thinking that English speakers naturally use when they talk to each other. This will help you listen better, understand faster, and also speak in a way that feels more natural. So, let's start at the beginning. I want you to imagine that you are sitting with me in a small classroom. It's quiet, the light is soft, and you can hear only my voice. You don't have to read a textbook. You don't have to memorize grammar rules right now. You just need to open your ears and your mind. English is not just a language of words. It is a language of sound and meaning. If you can hear the sound and feel the meaning, then you can follow conversations, TV shows, podcasts, or even real people in the street without getting lost. Now, let's warm up your ears. Listen carefully to the way I speak. Sometimes I go fast, sometimes I slow down, sometimes my voice goes up at the end of a sentence, and sometimes it goes down. This music of English is called intonation. Native speakers don't even think about it, but you can train yourself to notice it. Let's try a small exercise. Repeat after me. How are you? Say it slowly. Good. Now say it quickly, like a native speaker in the street. How are you? Did you notice that the words almost connect? It sounds like how are ya? That is the natural rhythm. Don't worry if your mouth feels strange when you copy this. With practice, it will become easier. Listening at B2 level means you can already understand the main ideas in long conversations and lectures, and you can follow TV shows or movies if people speak clearly. But sometimes you may miss details, or you may get confused when people use idioms or speak fast. That is normal. What we want to do is close that gap. I want you to not only catch the main ideas, but also enjoy the small details, the jokes, the emotions, the little words that give flavor to the sentence. Let me give you a short story. Imagine you are in London and you ask someone for directions. You say, "Excuse me, how can I get to Oxford Street?" The person answers quickly, "Yeah, sure, just go down there. Take the second left, walk past the pub, and you'll see it on your right. Can't miss it." Now, if you try to understand word by word, you may get stuck. What does "can't miss it" mean? Why did he say "yes, sure" at the beginning? But if you listen for the whole meaning, you understand. Go down, second left, past the pub, then it's on the right. And "can't miss it" just means it's very easy to see. The key here is not to panic about every single word, but to hear the general direction. That's how natives think. They don't translate every word. They just get the message. So, here's another listening trick. Focus on the important words. In English sentences, not every word carries meaning. For example, listen. I was going to the market because I needed to buy some apples. The important words are going, market, buy, apples. The other words, I was to the because I needed to, are just grammar glue. They hold the sentence together, but they are not the main meaning. If you train your ear to catch the strong words and let the soft words go, you will understand faster. Try this with me. I'll read a few sentences and you just repeat the key words after me. Sentence 1. She is studying hard for her final exams. Key words: studying, hard, final exams. Sentence 2. They were watching a movie when the phone rang. Keywords. Watching movie, phone rang. Sentence 3. We might travel to Spain next summer if we save enough money. Keywords. Travel, Spain, summer, save money.
Do you see?
Even if you only catch the keywords, your brain can fill the rest. This is what native speakers do naturally. They don't hear every word, but they don't need to, because the main words are enough. Another big part of thinking like a native speaker is understanding connected speech. English people often join words together. For example, instead of saying want to, they say wanna. Instead of going to, they say gonna. So, I am going to eat becomes I'm gonna eat. At first, it sounds like a completely different word, but it's just a shortcut. If you only study formal English, you will feel confused when you hear this because real conversations are full of shortcuts. Let's practice. Repeat after me. I want to go home.
Good.
She's gonna call you. Excellent. Do you want to watch a movie?
Nice.
The more you hear these, the more natural they will sound. I also want you to practice predicting meaning. Native speakers don't wait until the end of a sentence to understand it. They predict what's coming next. For example, if I say, tomorrow I'm going to, you can already guess I will talk about a plan, maybe going somewhere, maybe doing something. If I say, I'm so hungry, I really need to, you can guess the next word is eat. This skill makes listening much easier because your brain is already ready for the idea. So practice this. I'll start a sentence and you finish it in your head. After class, did you guess go home or study or relax?
Perfect.
When it's raining, maybe you guessed take an umbrella or stay inside. Yes. This is exactly how natives think. They guess the ending before it comes, and if they're wrong, they adjust quickly. Now, let's talk about listening in real life. When you listen to podcasts, music, or movies, don't try to understand every single thing at once. Choose one focus. Maybe focus on new words, or maybe focus on pronunciation, or maybe just enjoy the story. If you try to do everything, you will feel stressed. But if you choose one focus, you will improve faster. For example, today your focus can be notice connected speech. Tomorrow your focus can be catch keywords. Another day your focus can be learn one new idiom. Step by step, you will get better. Speaking of idioms, let's practice a few common ones. If someone says, it's not my cup of tea, they don't mean tea. They mean it's not something I like. For example, I don't really like horror movies. They're not my cup of tea. Repeat after me. Not my cup of tea. Good. Another one. Break the ice. This means to start a conversation in a friendly way. For example, at the party, I told a joke to break the ice. Repeat. Break the ice. Very good. Another one. Piece of cake. This means something is very easy. The exam was a piece of cake. Repeat. Piece of cake. Excellent. These idioms are small, but they make you sound natural and they help you understand natives because people use them all the time. Let me give you a listening challenge. I'll tell you a short story, and your job is to understand the main idea, not every word. Ready? Listen. Last weekend, I went hiking with some friends. We started early in the morning because the weather was hot. The path was steep and we got tired quickly, but the view from the top was amazing. After we came down, we ate lunch in a small restaurant near the mountain. It was a perfect day. Now stop and ask yourself, what is the main idea? You probably caught weekend, hiking, friends, morning, tired, view, lunch, perfect day. That's enough. Even if you missed words like steep or amazing, you still understood the story. That's the key. The more you listen like this, the more natural it becomes. Remember, babies learn language not by studying grammar, but by listening again and again. You can do the same. Listen every day, even if you don't understand everything. Your brain is smart. It will slowly connect the sounds and the meanings. Trust the process. So now that you are warmed up, let's go deeper together. Listening at the B2 level is not only about hearing sounds, it's about entering into the mind of an English speaker. I want you to picture how a native speaker listens when somebody is talking. They don't panic if they miss one word. They don't stop and translate in their head. They just keep flowing with the rhythm of the sentence. You can train yourself to do the same. Let's imagine you are watching a movie in English. At first, maybe you think, I don't understand, they speak too fast. But if you relax and let the words wash over you, soon you notice that your ears are catching more than you thought. Suddenly you hear a familiar phrase. You hear, I don't know, or let's go, or what are you doing? And you smile because it makes sense. These little victories build your confidence. You don't need to understand every detail to enjoy the story. You only need the main thread, the main feeling. Once you catch that, you can follow the rest. When you practice listening, it helps to imagine that you are part of the conversation. Don't just listen like an outsider.
Pretend you are one of the people in the story.
For example, if you hear two friends talking about dinner, imagine yourself sitting with them at the table. If they say, I'm starving, let's order pizza. Picture the pizza arriving and smell it in your mind. This kind of active imagination makes your brain connect faster to the words. It's not only about sound, it's about creating a picture. Native speakers do this without thinking because the words automatically bring pictures in their head. You can train that skill too, by using your imagination as you listen. Now, let's play with speed. When natives talk, sometimes they rush, sometimes they slow down, sometimes they cut words short. If you only practice with slow, clear English, you will feel shocked when you meet real conversation. That's why it's important to mix your practice. Some days listen to very clear English, like the news. Other days, challenge yourself with fast conversations like TV shows or podcasts. At first it feels impossible, but after a while, your ear gets stronger like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the faster it reacts. Think of listening like running. At the beginning, you run slowly. But with training, you can run faster and longer. The same with listening. Your ear becomes trained to catch quick words and short forms. One thing that helps is shadowing. This means listening to a short piece of English and immediately repeating it aloud, copying not just the words but the tone, the rhythm, the music. For example, if you hear me say, "What are you up to?" you immediately repeat, "What are you up to?" Try to copy my voice exactly. At first you may feel shy, but it's a powerful tool. Shadowing forces your mouth and your ear to work together. You don't only hear English, you produce it at the same speed, and this gives you the reflex of a native. You don't have to shadow a whole movie, just choose a few lines each day. Within weeks you will notice that you can follow faster conversations with more confidence. Another important habit is noticing chunks of language. A chunk is a group of words that go together, like at the end of the day, or by the way, or as soon as possible. Natives don't build sentences word by word. They use these ready-made blocks. If you can recognize the chunks, you will understand faster because your brain doesn't need to translate each piece. For example, if I say, at the end of the day, it's your choice. The whole phrase at the end of the day doesn't mean the evening. It means finally or after everything. If you know the chunk, you don't need to think. The meaning is instant. Try to listen for these blocks whenever you hear English. They're like shortcuts in the brain. Let's try an exercise. I will say a sentence slowly, and I want you to listen for the chunk. I'll give you a hand with your homework. Did you hear it? Give you a hand. That's a chunk. It means help. So when you hear that in real life, you don't think about a hand. You know it means help. Another one. He's feeling under the weather today. Did you catch the chunk? Under the weather means sick. Not about weather, but about health. So when you hear it, you instantly understand. The more chunks you learn, the easier listening becomes, because your brain connects directly to meaning, not word by word. Now, let's talk about accents. At B2 level, you'll meet different accents of English. Maybe British, American, Australian, Canadian, or even non-native accents. Don't worry if they sound strange at first. Each accent has its own rhythm and sound, but the basic words are the same. Think of accents like different flavors of food. At first you may not like one flavor, but with time you get used to it and even enjoy it. The secret is exposure. Listen to different voices. Watch movies from different countries. Listen to interviews on YouTube with people from different places. Slowly, your ear adjusts. You don't need to understand every accent perfectly, but being comfortable with variety will make you flexible. Sometimes learners tell me, Jenny, I feel lost when people use slang or informal language. That is normal. Remember, native speakers don't always use textbook English. They may say, "What's up?" instead of, "How are you?" They may say, "Hang on," instead of, "Wait a minute." They may say, "No worries," instead of, "It's okay." These are not difficult, they are just everyday habits. You don't need to learn all slang, but you should be aware that informal English is full of small phrases like this. When you hear them often, they become normal. One good way to practice is to watch sitcoms or dramas because they show how people actually talk in daily life. Now let me tell you a story, and this time I want you to imagine yourself inside the story as one of the characters. Listen closely. Last Friday, I finished work and went to meet my friend at a cafe. She was already there, waiting with a big smile. We ordered coffee and started chatting about her week. She told me she had a problem at her job. Her boss was very demanding, and she felt stressed. I listened and gave her advice. Then she asked me about my plans for the weekend, and I told her I wanted to relax and watch a movie at home. Suddenly, it started raining heavily outside, so we decided to stay longer in the cafe and enjoy another cup of coffee. It was a cozy evening. Now think, what was the main story? Meeting a friend, talking about work, sharing plans, rain outside, cozy cafe. That's enough. You don't need every detail. You just need the main picture. That's how to listen like a native. Focus on the big picture first, detail second. Another way to practice is to summarize after listening. After you hear a story, don't try to repeat it word by word. Just say, okay, the main idea is this. For example, you could summarize my story by saying, Jenny met her friend in a cafe. They talked about work and weekend plans, and it rained, so they stayed inside. That's perfect. You didn't copy me, but you got the meaning. This is exactly how your brain should train itself when listening to English in real life. Now, a quick word about patience. Many learners get frustrated because they want to understand everything right away. But language is like a garden. You plant seeds, you water them, and slowly they grow. Listening every day, even 10 minutes, is like watering your garden. Maybe you don't see the flowers today, but one day suddenly you realize you understand a podcast without subtitles and you smile. That is your flower. So be patient, keep listening, and trust the growth. Let's do one more practice. I'll say a few sentences and you just relax, listen, and catch the main idea. Ready? I missed the bus this morning, so I had to walk to school in the rain. Did you get it? Main idea. Missed bus, walked in rain. Next, she bought a beautiful red dress for her sister's wedding next month. Main idea. Bought dress, sister's wedding. Next, we stayed up all night watching the football game because it was so exciting. Main idea. Stayed up, football game, exciting. This exercise trains you to find the heart of the sentence quickly, without stress. All right, welcome back. You're still with me, and that's a good sign. It means your brain is ready for more listening practice. Now, let's think about how English really lives in the world. You see, English is not only in classrooms or exams, it's in the streets, on the internet, in music, in conversations that are fast, messy, emotional, funny, sometimes even illogical. A native speaker doesn't stop to check grammar rules before opening their mouth. They just speak. And when they listen, they don't pause to analyze, they just absorb and respond. So if you want to listen like a native speaker, you have to train yourself to be comfortable with this messiness. English is not always clean. People interrupt, change subjects, laugh, or mumble. But the meaning is always there under the noise. Imagine you are in a busy coffee shop. Two friends are sitting next to you, speaking in English. One says, "Hey, did you get that thing sorted out with your landlord?" The other replies, "Yeah, kind of. He said he'd fix the leak next week, but I'm not holding my breath." Now, maybe you don't know the phrase, "not holding my breath." That's okay. You still understand the main thing. He will fix the leak next week, but the speaker doesn't trust him fully. That's enough. Later, you can look up the phrase and learn it means I don't expect it to happen soon. But in the moment, you didn't stop listening. You followed the story. That's how natives do it too. Even in their own language, sometimes they don't understand a joke, or they miss a word because of noise, but they keep listening. They don't panic. So, I want you to practice the same. When you hear something new or strange, don't freeze. Just keep going, keep listening, and focus on what you do understand. Your brain is like a puzzle solver. It fills the missing pieces if you give it enough context. Trust it. Another tool I want you to use is echoing. This is a little different from shadowing. Shadowing is repeating exactly what you hear, quickly. Echoing is listening, then repeating the sentence in your own words, more slowly. For example, I say, "I can't believe how expensive this city is." You echo, "She thinks the city is very expensive." You didn't copy me word for word, but you captured the meaning. This exercise makes you an active listener. You don't just hear sounds, you process them and show you understood. Try it with me. I'll say something, You pause and echo in your own words.
Ready?
I stayed up late last night finishing my project. Did you say something like, she went to bed late because of her project?
Perfect.
Next one. My phone battery died while I was on the train. You might echo, her phone stopped working on the train. Excellent. This exercise will build your confidence to handle real listening situations. Now, let's talk about emotions in listening. Words are not everything. Tone of voice carries half the meaning. When a friend says, I'm fine, but their voice is flat and low, maybe they're not really fine. If they say, I'm fine, with energy, then they really are fine. Listening like a native means listening to the music behind the words. English uses stress and intonation to show emotion. Try to notice if the voice goes up, down, fast, or slow. Sometimes the emotion tells you more than the words. Here's a quick example. Imagine someone says, yeah, great. If the voice is high and happy, it means they are truly happy. If the voice is low and flat, it may mean the opposite. They are not happy at all. Same words, different meaning. This is why it's important to pay attention not only to words but also to tone. Native speakers rely on tone all the time. They can say thanks in 100 different ways, from truly grateful to sarcastic. So practice listening with your ears open to the music of the voice. I also want to remind you that mistakes are part of learning. When you listen, sometimes you'll misunderstand. Maybe you think someone said beach when they said peach. Don't worry. Even native speakers sometimes mishear words. The difference is they don't feel embarrassed, they just ask, sorry, what did you say? Or they figure it out from context. You should do the same. If you miss a word, it's not the end of the world. Listening is about connection, not perfection. Let me tell you a story to show you this point. A few years ago, one of my students was traveling in New York. He went to a small diner for breakfast. The waitress came and said quickly, "How'd I like your eggs?" He froze.
He had no idea what she said.
But instead of panicking, he smiled and said, "Sorry, could you repeat?" She slowed down. How do you like your eggs? Now it was clear. She just wanted to know if he wanted scrambled, fried, or boiled. He laughed, ordered scrambled, and enjoyed his meal. The lesson is, don't be afraid to ask. Even natives repeat things for each other when they're not clear. That's part of real communication. Now, let's do a deeper practice story together. This will be longer, and your task is to stay with me, relax, and follow the flow. Don't try to understand every single word, just catch the meaning. Ready? Here we go. Last summer, I traveled to Spain with two of my closest friends. We arrived in Barcelona on a sunny afternoon, and the first thing we noticed was the energy of the city. The streets were full of people, the air was full of music and laughter, and the smell of food was everywhere. We checked into our small hotel near the city center, and then went out to explore. We walked along the famous street called La Rambla, watched street performers, and bought ice cream. At night, we found a small restaurant where we tried paella for the first time. It was delicious with seafood and rice, and we couldn't stop eating. The next day, we visited Gaudi's famous church, the Sagrada Familia. The building was huge and beautiful, with tall towers and colorful windows. We took so many pictures. In the evening, we went to the beach, played in the waves, and watched the sunset. Every day in Barcelona was full of life and adventure, And when we finally left, we felt like we wanted to stay forever. Now, what's the main story? A trip to Barcelona, friends, food, sightseeing, beach, fun. That's enough. Even if you miss the word paella or Sagrada Familia, you still got the picture. Travel, adventure, joy. That's the skill you need to practice. To make your listening practice effective, you should also listen repeatedly. The first time, just relax and enjoy. The second time, try to catch new details. The third time, maybe repeat some sentences aloud. Repetition is not boring. It is the secret to mastery. Think about your favorite song. The first time you hear it, you don't know the lyrics. But after listening many times, suddenly you can sing along. That's the power of repetition. Do the same with English listening. Here's a trick you can try at home. Choose a short video in English, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Watch it once with subtitles. Watch again without subtitles. Then listen only with audio, no video. Each time, you will catch something new. This triple approach, watch, read, listen, helps your brain connect sound, meaning, and memory. Natives don't need this because they grew up with the language, but for learners, it's a strong method. One more thing about thinking like a native. Natives don't translate in their head. When they hear the word apple, they don't think of the word in another language. They immediately picture the fruit. You should train yourself to do the same. Connect English words directly to images, feelings, or actions. When you hear run, picture running. Don't think of your language's word for run. This direct connection makes listening faster. Translation is slow. Direct meaning is quick. That's how natives think. All right, let's relax for a moment.
Take a breath.
You've been listening carefully for a long time now, and that is good training. Listening is like exercise. You need breaks, but you also need consistency. If you practice like this every day, even for 20 minutes, your ear will grow sharper and your confidence will rise. And remember, you're not alone. Many learners all over the world struggle with listening, but with patience, they succeed. You can too. So let's keep moving, because every minute you spend listening here is another step toward thinking like an English speaker. At this stage, I want you to stop worrying about perfect grammar or perfect pronunciation in your own speech, because the secret of good listening is not perfection, it's flexibility. When you listen to English, you are not taking a test, you are having an experience. Sometimes you understand everything clearly, sometimes you miss a piece, sometimes you guess. And that's exactly what happens to natives too. So instead of thinking, I must understand 100%, think, I will catch what matters and the rest will come with practice. This mindset takes away the pressure, and pressure is the biggest enemy of listening. Now picture this. You're sitting in a park and 2 teenagers walk by speaking English. They are talking fast, laughing, making jokes. One says, "That movie was insane, dude. I can't stop thinking about it." The other says, "Yeah, the ending blew my mind. I didn't see that coming." Maybe you don't know the phrase blew my mind. Still, you understand they're excited about a movie. They loved the ending. That's the point. Listening like a native is not about perfect translation. It's about grabbing the emotion, the main idea. Later you can check, and you'll find out that blew my mind means surprised me a lot. But in the moment, you didn't need that detail to understand the conversation. Let's do another short exercise. I'll say a phrase, and you try to feel the meaning from the situation, not from translation. Ready? I'm over the moon right now. You hear the happiness, right? It means I'm very happy. Next, I'm running out of time. You probably guessed it means I don't have enough time. Last one. He always cracks me up. Did you feel the laughter? It means he makes me laugh a lot. See, your brain is smarter than you think. With enough exposure, you don't need to translate. You just feel it. Something else that matters is noticing the small connecting words natives use all the time. Words like, like, well, actually. These are called fillers, and they don't carry heavy meaning, but they make speech sound natural. For example, someone might say, well, I was really tired yesterday, so I didn't go out. If you ignore the fillers, the main sentence is, I was tired yesterday, so I didn't go out. But the fillers give rhythm and time for thinking. Don't get stuck on them. Just let them pass through your ear. Now, one more key to thinking like a native. Practice active listening. This means you don't sit like a stone, waiting for words to hit your ear. You lean forward with your attention. You react, you nod, you smile, you say little responses like, uh-huh, right, I see. Natives do this constantly. It keeps the conversation alive. So if you want to train your ear, also train your body. When you listen, show with your face or voice that you are following. Even if you practice alone, try nodding or saying, I see, when you understand. It makes you more engaged, and your brain learns faster. Let me tell you about one of my students who improved her listening dramatically. She used to listen passively, headphones on, but mind somewhere else. She said, I listen to English podcasts every day, but I don't improve. I asked her, do you really listen, or do you just hear noise while cooking or scrolling your phone? She laughed and admitted it was background noise. I told her to listen actively, to sit down, focus only on the podcast, take notes, repeat sentences. Within 1 month, she noticed a big difference. She said, now I can follow conversations at work without asking people to repeat. So the lesson is, listening practice works best when you are present, not distracted. All right, time for another story. This time, a story with a few idioms and natural expressions, so you can test your listening. Listen carefully. Last weekend, my cousin invited me to a barbecue at his place. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go, because I had a lot on my plate, but in the end, I decided to drop by. When I arrived, everyone was in the backyard, the grill was hot, and the smell of food was amazing. My cousin was flipping burgers and joking around, and the kids were running all over the place. I started talking with an old friend I hadn't seen in years, and we caught up on everything. We laughed, we shared stories, and time just flew by. By the end of the night, I was really glad I had come because it was exactly what I needed to unwind. Now, maybe you noticed some idioms. A lot on my plate means very busy. Drop by means visit quickly. Catch up means update each other. Time flew by means time passed quickly. And unwind means relax. Even if you didn't know them all, did you get the main idea? A fun barbecue, reconnecting with friends, feeling relaxed. That's enough. I want you to practice this skill every day. Focus on the story, not the dictionary. Imagine language as a painting. Don't stand too close to count every brush stroke. Step back and see the whole picture. That's how listening should feel. Now let's practice with questions. I'll ask you a few questions about my story, and you answer in your head. Don't worry if your sentences aren't perfect. Just think of the idea. First question, where did the barbecue happen? Did you say at his cousin's place?
Correct.
Second, why didn't I want to go at first?
Because I was busy, right?
Third, what did I do when I met an old friend? We caught up, shared stories.
Perfect.
See, you understood the main things without needing every word. Something else that makes listening easier is rhythm. English is a stress-timed language. That means not all words take the same time. The important words are stressed, the less important ones shrink. For example, I went to the store to buy some milk. The stressed words are went store, buy milk. The other words are faster and softer. If you only focus on hearing stressed words, you'll still understand. This is why natives sometimes sound fast. It's because they reduce the small words. But if you train your ear to catch the stressed ones, you'll never be lost. Let's try it together. Repeat after me, but focus on the stressed words. She's going to the airport tomorrow morning. Stressed words. Going airport tomorrow morning. Next, they're planning a big party for her birthday. Stressed words. Planning, big party, birthday. Notice how the rhythm is like music. English is full of this beat, and once you hear the beat, listening feels easier. Another tip is to use real-life practice. Don't wait for a classroom to train your ear. Put English in your daily life. Change your phone language to English. Listen to English songs while cooking. Watch a short YouTube video every morning. The more you surround yourself with it, the faster you'll adapt. Remember, babies don't sit in class, they live in the language all day. You can do the same by filling your environment with English. And remember, mistakes in listening are normal. Sometimes you'll think someone said ship when they said sheep. Sometimes you'll laugh at the wrong moment because you misunderstood. That's okay. Every mistake is a step toward learning. Don't be shy about it. In fact, you can even tell people, I'm practicing my English listening, so please speak naturally. Most people will be happy to help. Let's finish this part with a short relaxation listening. Close your eyes if you want and just listen to the picture I paint. Imagine you are walking in a quiet forest. The sun is shining through the leaves, and you hear birds singing in the distance. The air is fresh, and you feel calm as you walk slowly along the path. Suddenly, you see a small river. The water is clear, and you hear it flowing gently. You sit down near the river, close your eyes, and just listen to the sound of water and birds. You feel peaceful. Did you notice how easy it was to follow? That's because I use simple, clear words, but also because your imagination was active. This shows that listening is not only about ears, it's about the whole body and mind working together. Okay, my friend, you've come this far, which means your ears are stronger already. By now, you've probably noticed something interesting. The more you listen, the less you focus on single words, and the more you catch ideas. That's the real shift from studying English to living English. When you start to hear ideas, feelings, images, not just vocabulary lists, you are thinking like a native speaker. Let's slow down for a second and notice how your brain is working. When you first began learning English, you probably thought in your own language, then tried to find English words to match. So if you wanted to say, I am hungry, you thought of the word in your language first, then translated. That's normal. But now, when you hear me say, I'm hungry, do you need to translate it? Probably not. You just feel the meaning instantly. That's progress. That's what natives do. Direct meaning, no translation. Listening practice pushes you further and further into this space until English feels automatic. One way to train this deeper is by practicing with emotions. Let's try. When I say, "I'm so tired," feel the heaviness. When I say, "That's amazing," feel the excitement. When I say, "I can't believe it," feel the surprise. If you practice listening not only with your ears but with your feelings, you'll catch the meaning much faster. English is full of emotional shortcuts, intonation, rhythm, volume, that carry more than the dictionary meaning. Now, let me tell you a funny story to test your listening again. Listen closely and see if you can get the picture. Last month, I decided to try cooking something new. I bought all the ingredients to make homemade bread. I followed the recipe step by step. Mix flour, water, salt, yeast. I waited for the dough to rise, but nothing happened. It just sat there heavy like a rock. I thought maybe it needed more time, so I waited longer. Still nothing. Finally, I realized I had forgotten to add the yeast. No yeast, no bread. In the end, I just laughed and ordered pizza instead. Did you follow? The main idea is simple. Jenny tried to bake bread, forgot yeast, failed, laughed, ordered pizza. Even if you missed some words like dough or rise, you still got the story. That's what matters. Let's take it a step further. I'll ask you questions and you answer in your mind. What was Jenny trying to cook?
Bread.
What was missing?
Yeast.
What did she do at the end? Ordered pizza.
Perfect.
See, your brain is processing meaning, not memorizing every word. This is exactly the skill that makes you a natural listener. Another thing to remember, natives use sound reductions all the time. Instead of "did you eat," they might say, "did ya eat?" Instead of "what do you want to do?" it becomes "what do you want to do?" These reductions are everywhere, and if you only expect clean textbook English, you'll feel lost. But once you get used to them, you'll realize they're easy. Let's practice a few. Repeat after me. Did ya see that? Good. Whatcha doing?
Nice.
Gimme a minute.
Perfect.
These short forms make speech flow faster, but the meaning is the same. Think of them as shortcuts in sound. Now, here's a small secret about listening faster. Don't fight the speed. If you try to slow down the speaker in your mind, you'll always feel behind. Instead, let the speed carry you, like a wave in the ocean. When you surf, you don't stop the wave, you ride it. Listening is the same. Trust your brain to catch what it can and let go of what you miss. Over time, your brain will catch more and more because it adapts to the natural rhythm. Another powerful practice is listening with questions in mind. Before you play a podcast or watch a video, ask yourself, what do I want to learn from this? Then listen for that. For example, if the podcast is about travel, your question might be, where did the speaker go? What did they enjoy? Suddenly, your ear is sharper because you are listening with purpose. Native speakers always listen with purpose. They don't hear everything equally. They focus on what matters.
You can do the same.
Now let me give you another mini story, but this time faster and more natural. Ready? Yesterday I was running late for work, so I grabbed my bag, rushed out the door, and jumped on the bus. Halfway through the ride, I realized I had forgotten my laptop at home. I panicked for a second, but then I remembered I had saved the important files on my phone. So I took a deep breath and relaxed. When I got to the office, everything was fine. My boss didn't even notice. Did you catch the flow? Late, forgot laptop, panic, remembered phone, problem solved. Even if I spoke fast, you still saw the story. That's the trick. Focus on the chain of events, not every brick in the wall. Now, let's talk about repetition again, because it's that important. Think of a favorite movie you've seen in your own language. The first time, you watched for the story. The second time, you noticed more details. The third time, you started to memorize lines. You can do the same with English movies or shows. Watch them again and again. At first, focus on story. Next, on words. Next, on pronunciation. Each layer adds more understanding. This layered listening is one of the fastest ways to improve. Also, don't forget to enjoy the process. If listening feels like punishment, you won't stick with it. Choose content you love. Music, comedy, sports, news. Whatever excites you. The brain learns faster when it's happy. I once had a student who loved cooking. She watched cooking shows in English every day. At first, she only understood salt and pepper. But after weeks, she was following entire recipes without subtitles.
Why?
Because she cared. Interest is fuel for learning. Find your fuel. To finish this part, I'll take you on another little listening journey.
Close your eyes if you like.
You wake up in a small village. The sun is rising, and the streets are quiet. You walk to a market, where vendors are setting up their stalls. You hear the sound of people greeting each other, the clinking of coins, the rustle of vegetables being placed on tables. You stop at a bakery. The smell of fresh bread fills the air. You buy a warm loaf, take a bite, and smile. The day feels simple, calm, and full of possibilities. Did you feel it? That's the power of listening with imagination. You don't just hear sounds, you live inside the story. That's what will make your English listening natural and alive. So here we are at the final part of this long listening practice. If you've stayed with me this far, that already proves something important. You have the patience and focus to train your ears like a native speaker. Remember, listening is not something that changes overnight. It's like learning to play a musical instrument. At first, your fingers move slowly, and the sound is rough, but with daily practice, the music starts to flow. English listening works the same way. By now, you've heard me tell you again and again to focus on ideas, not single words. That's because this is the key difference between learners and natives. A learner tries to collect every single word like coins on the floor. A native looks up, listens to the whole story, and doesn't worry if one coin is missing. The value is in the full picture, not the single piece. So if you take only one lesson from today, let it be this. Stop chasing words, start catching ideas. Let's put this into action one more time with a longer listening challenge. Ready? Listen carefully. No need to stop or rewind. Just follow along. 2 weeks ago, my friend Sarah invited me to join her on a weekend trip to the countryside. At first, I hesitated because I had work to do, but she insisted it would be good for me to take a break. So we packed our bags and took a train early Saturday morning. The ride was peaceful, with green fields rolling past the window. When we arrived, the air smelled fresh and clean, so different from the city. We stayed in a small guest house run by a kind older couple. They welcomed us with tea and cookies, and it felt like home immediately. That afternoon, we went for a long walk in the forest, where we found a hidden waterfall. We sat by the water, listening to the sound, talking about our dreams, and laughing about silly memories. On Sunday, we rented bicycles and rode around the village, stopping at farms to buy fruit and cheese. By the time we returned to the city, I felt like a new person, relaxed, refreshed, ready for the week ahead. Now, without worrying about every detail, what's the main story? Sarah and I took a countryside trip, stayed in a guest house, enjoyed nature, came back refreshed. That's it. Simple, clear, natural. If you want to practice deeper, pause after such a story and tell it back in your own words. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just say, they went to the countryside, stayed with kind people, saw a waterfall, and came back happy. That's enough. This practice is powerful because it forces your brain to focus on meaning. Now, let's deal with another challenge: fast group conversations. Maybe you've been in a situation where several English speakers are talking at once, interrupting each other, laughing, making jokes. You feel lost because you can't catch everything. That's normal. Even natives sometimes miss things in group chats. The trick is not to panic. Choose one speaker to focus on. Catch the main subject. Maybe you only understand half, but you still know they're talking about movies, or about work, or about food. That's enough to stay connected. With time, your brain will filter noise better, and you'll catch more. Here's an example of fast group talk. Listen and see what you catch. Hey, remember that time we got lost in Paris? Oh, yeah. Don't remind me. My feet were killing me. But the cafe we found was amazing, right? Totally. Best croissants ever. And then we almost missed the train back. That was crazy. Did you understand every word? Maybe not. But what's the subject? A group of friends remembering a funny trip to Paris, with croissants and almost missing a train. That's all you need. The details can come later. Listening like a native also means expecting the unexpected. In real conversations, people change subjects suddenly. One moment they talk about food, the next about politics, then about family. Don't freeze. Just follow the flow. If you miss the bridge between topics, it's okay. You'll catch up in a few seconds. That's how conversations really work. I also want to remind you that listening is not only about practice with media. It's also about real people. If you have a chance, speak with native speakers or even with non-native speakers who use English. Every conversation trains your ear. Don't worry about mistakes. Real communication is not an exam. It's messy, funny, human. If you don't understand, just smile and say, "Sorry, could you say that again?" That's natural. Another useful practice is storytelling. Tell yourself stories in English, out loud if possible. When you speak and listen to yourself, you train both sides of the brain. For example, tell yourself what you did yesterday, step by step, in English. I woke up, I brushed my teeth, I had breakfast, I checked my phone. Simple, but effective. Over time, you'll notice that you can listen to yourself more smoothly, and then listening to others feels easier too. Let's do one last listening relaxation because learning doesn't have to be tense. Close your eyes, breathe, and imagine with me. You're sitting on a beach at sunset. The waves are gentle, the air is warm, and the sky is painted with orange and pink. You hear children laughing in the distance, and the soft sound of the ocean is steady, like music. You take a sip of cool water, Feel the sand under your feet and let the day fade into calm. You don't worry about anything. You just listen and feel at peace. This kind of practice may sound simple, but it is powerful. It connects language with feelings, and that makes memory stronger. Before we close, let me give you some encouragement. If you've listened through all these hours, you've already trained your ears more than most learners ever do in one sitting. You may feel tired, but your brain has been working, building new pathways, becoming more familiar with English sounds, rhythm, and flow. That's real progress. Even if tomorrow you feel like you forgot some things, don't worry. Your subconscious is still working. Every time you return to English, you will find it a little easier. So let's end with this thought. Listening is not just a skill, it's a habit. The more you listen, the more natural it becomes. Make English part of your daily life, not just your study routine. Listen while you walk, while you clean, while you relax. Let it surround you like background music. Step by step, it will feel less like a foreign language and more like a part of you. Thank you for spending this long time with me here at English Lab. My name is Jenny, and I'm proud of you for listening, practicing, and staying patient. Remember, think like a native, listen for meaning, not words, and enjoy the journey. Your English will grow naturally if you keep going. See you next time and keep listening.